Imagine fighting a baseball card monopoly all by yourself for over 50 years. This is the surprising history of Fleer baseball cards. In 1885, which is about 140 years ago, Frank Fleer established the Fleer Corporation in Philadelphia, initially focusing on producing chewing gum and candies, very similar to the history of Topps. Fleer had gum at the time, but no one had invented bubblegum yet. In 1906, Fleer's first attempt at bubblegum was called Blibber-Blubber, and it failed to gain commercial success. It was too sticky and it broke too easily. In fact, Fleer gave up on bubblegum for quite some time. Until 1928, when Walter Dimer, who was an accountant at Fleer's company hired just 2 years earlier, was watching a batch for a chemist who was taking a phone call when he became very interested in how bubblegum was made. Walter would go on to make his own batches, tweaking the formula until he came up with Dubble Bubble. Dubble Bubble was such a great chewing gum and bubble gum to blow bubbles that it replaced Tootsie Roll as the best-selling 1-cent candy at the time. Walter was a huge success, but he didn't patent Dubble Bubble. He never received any royalties for his invention, which could have made him a billionaire. He said his reward was seeing all the happy children chewing his gum. Dubble Bubble, becoming the first commercially successful bubble gum, provided financial stability for all future ventures of Fleer, including trading cards. In 1959, Fleer officially entered the mainstream baseball card market with its first complete baseball card set. This set was aimed to compete directly with Topps, which was the dominant player in sports cards at the time. Topps had most of the active Major League Baseball players under exclusive contracts, so Fleer went and signed Ted Williams to its own exclusive contract. That's why in 1959 Topps did not produce a Ted Williams baseball card. He signed exclusively with Fleer, and Fleer launched a set consisting of 80 cards commemorating the life and career of Ted Williams. The set's most scarce card is number 68, Ted Signs for 1959, which honors Ted Williams signing the largest contract in Major League Baseball history at the time for $125,000 a year. What happened here is that the Red Sox general manager, Bucky Harris, on the left, was under exclusive contract with Topps. So Fleer had to halt production of this card, and a few were released, making it a very rare and valuable card indeed, similar to the Honus Wagner tobacco card story. In 1960, Fleer expanded its baseball cards beyond just Ted Williams into retired Hall of Fame players. The 1960 Fleer Baseball Greats had 79 cards in the set and showcases the best players from the first half of the 1900s. This was Fleer's first real baseball card set and one of its first retro sets. The sequel to that set came in 1961 when the Baseball Greats set was expanded to include 154 cards in 2 series. Unveiled in 1961, the first series, which were cards number 1 to number 88, are easy to track down, where the second series, number 89 to 154, were released in 1962, and those cards were much rarer and harder to find. In 1963, unlike previous sets, Fleer issued a set of current active players in baseball at the time. This set only consisted of 66 cards because Topps filed a lawsuit against Fleer to stop production for this set, and only Series 1 of 66 cards came out. In fact, the unnumbered checklist is one of this set's most scarcest cards, as well as the Murray Wills card and the Joe Attic card. The legal fights between Topps and Fleer continued, as Fleer filed a complaint with the FTC alleging that Topps was engaging in unfair competition by collecting all of these exclusive contracts with players. The FTC decided that because the contracts only covered the sale of baseball cards with gum, that competition was still possible by selling cards with other small, low-cost products. However, Fleer in 1965 chose not to pursue such options, instead sold all of its remaining player contracts to Topps for $395,000 in 1966. This decision gave Topps an effective monopoly of baseball cards for the next quarter century. And when I first read about this didn't make sense to me, because why wouldn't they sell baseball cards with stickers and other such things? But I think at the time, the money was primarily made through selling gum and not baseball cards. In the 1970s, Fleer continued to produce baseball cards of retired stars, minor league players, and other limited subsets, but basically Fleer fell off the map and Topps was dominant in this industry. I did find here a 1971 Fleer Fast Eddie AHRA Drag Race Championship card that Fleer made in the 70s, and it is classic 70s, and I love the look of these cards. In 1980, Fleer took Topps to court again, and I think one of the greatest legacies of Fleer is continuing to challenge Topps' monopoly. The Topps monopoly was finally broken by this lawsuit, in which the judge decided that other companies, including Fleer, were allowed to compete in the market. That led Fleer and another company, Donruss, to enter the baseball card market with cards and full sets in 1981. Fleer and Donruss initially sold their cards with gum, but eventually, when the ruling was overturned and Topps regained its monopoly on selling cards with gum, both companies instead began packaging their cards with small items like logo stickers from Fleer and the cardboard puzzle pieces from Donruss, which I always thought were a little bit stupid. Now looking at sort of the height of Fleer in baseball cards, you can see the 81 Fernando Valenzuela card. We've got 82 Fleer Cal Ripken Jr. card, and the 83 Fleer Tony Gwynn, which to this date is still one of the most valuable cards Fleer produced, where a PSA 10 can fetch about $400 today. Next we have the 1984 Fleer Don Mattingly rookie card, which in a PSA 10 can get about $630. We see the 85 Kirby Puckett card, and the 1986 Fleer Update Barry Bonds rookie for $300. It's impossible to talk about Fleer as a company and Fleer baseball cards without mentioning the amazing impact the 1986 Fleer basketball set had on the market and the industry as a whole. It took quite a while for basketball cards to catch on in the market. They were around for decades before and for some time in the 80s, but they weren't widely distributed by traditional means. And in 1986, Fleer basketball changed that. This is one of the most important sports card sets of all time, in part because of a pure coincidence. 1981-82 Topps basketball cards were the company's last for that sport until the 1990s. That meant when Fleer launched its 86-87 Fleer set, there are so many rookies that were missed, including that of Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, Chris Mullin, Patrick Ewing, Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Johnny Moore, and Dominique Williams. The list of 86 Fleer basketball rookie cards is one of the strongest you'll ever find in any single product from any sport. In total, there was a 132 card set with 11 stickers. That's why, even to this date, packs of these cards sell for hundreds of dollars, because you never know, you just might find a Michael Jordan rookie card worth up to maybe $10,000. But beware, people have resealed these wax packs, taking out the most valuable cards and selling them as if they were completely sealed, and so you got to be a watch out for things like this back in this era. Continuing on some of the Fleer highlights, the 1987 Fleer Bo Jackson rookie in PSA 10 will still fetch $200. We have the 88 Fleer Tom Glavine card here, and the 1989 Fleer Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card in PSA 10 will still fetch you about $100. Now, it's important to point out that the 89 Fleer Ken Griffey Jr. card is the third most graded card of all time. In fact, Ken Griffey Jr. owns 4 of the top 10 most graded cards of all time. As you can see here, the most graded card of all time is his 89 Upper Deck rookie, followed by Topps, and then Fleer, and then also making the list is his 89 Donruss rookie. And you can't talk about Fleer without talking about their error cards. Growing up as a kid, error cards were all the fad, and this was full on in 1989, due in part to Fleer's 2 most popular error cards. On the left, we have the Randy Johnson Marlboro ad on the scoreboard. As you can see, and it's really hard to see in the actual card itself, the scoreboard behind him was showing a Marlboro ad. And at the time, Fleer and other Major League Baseball card companies didn't want to promote tobacco products through their cards, and so this was an accident. And so the correction for this error was they blurred out the marble or scoreboard ad. So if you do have one with that ad on it in a PSA 10, it can fetch up to $700. Also, most famous is the Billy Ripken FF error card, where a swear word was written on the knob of his bat in the production of making the cards. This one is wild because Fleer obviously was panicking and trying to react to this, so some of the corrections to this card include putting a white box over it and a black box, and it looks just silly. And so this is one, again, the most famous error cards of all time. In PSA 10, you can get about $400 for it. I do want to give a quick shout out to the 1991 Fleer set, which in my opinion is one of the ugliest years of baseball cards ever produced. But it does have one of the dopest looking insert cards of all time. Now, when I remember buying these cards, unlike other sets, like when you would see Score and they would have really bright borders, but they would have 6 different color variants through the whole set, this 91 Fleer set was all yellow all the time, but it did make these black bordered insert cards, which were amazing drawings of players, really pop and really stand out. In fact, as a kid, I remember if you would squeeze the wax pack against the side of the cards, you could actually see before you bought the pack whether there was a black insert card in here or not. So mixed feelings on the 1991 Fleer set, but it is always in my mind. Continuing on the highlights of most valuable Fleer cards, we have the 1992 Frank Thomas Rookie Sensations card, which is one of the more rare rookie cards and more valuable rookie cards you can find from Fleer. A PSA 10 version of this will sell for up to $3,000 right now. In 1994, when Michael Jordan began to pursue his baseball career, his minor league Birmingham Barons rookie card also was produced by Fleer, and with the white background, it can sell for up to $3,000 in a PSA 10 as well. Also very popular is the 1997 Fleer Tiffany David Ortiz rookie card, which the PSA 10 Tiffany version will sell for up to $8,500. The last of the Fleer highlights would come in 2001, as this would be the last year Fleer produced full, complete baseball card sets of currently active players. But you have the 2001 Fleer Albert Pujols rookie card here, and then the 2001 Fleer Legacy Ichiro card, each selling for a few $100s. In early 2005, Fleer announced that it would cease production of all of its trading cards and filed for what was essentially a state liquidation court similar to Chapter 7 bankruptcy. In July of that year, Upper Deck acquired the rights to Fleer name and began producing Fleer-branded basketball, hockey, and football cards. They bought Fleer out of bankruptcy for only $6.1 million, which was quite a steal at the time, but we wouldn't see any more baseball cards. Speaking of baseball cards specifically, I'm hoping that the third chapter of Fleer and its continued struggle against monopolies will be to try and break open the Fanatics monopoly so that more baseball card companies can compete in the market, and as a hobby, we have more options than just Fanatics monopoly with Topps cards and so forth. Thank you again for watching. If you've made it this far, please share this video with someone who would enjoy it, and we'll see you in the next one.